For everybody out there, all the fans of it. And guys, we are having some fun right now. There's a lot of sports in play. Let me introduce the fellas. Of course, Randy Rosenblum, Bob Gibson, and Dan DeForest is the panel for tonight. And we're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. And then Randy has a guest with him. And so he's going to have an interview for us. But guys, let's get into it. All kinds of stuff going on, man. What's really cool is driving around town now and seeing all the middle schools and high schools full of activity. Don't jump in at one time.
It's really great. In fact, one of the topics in the city section, obviously, is the fact that now we know that indoor basketball and indoor sports is coming back. That was just announced earlier this week. So we're excited to have hoops back in the Los Angeles city section amongst other sports. So we're going to get all the sports going simultaneously now, Rich. It's great in the city section.
Well, I just noticed all the fields. At this time of year, you'll see specific teams working out, mainly softball and baseball maybe, but now I've seen soccer out there, football out there. I mean, the fields, every inch of most of the schools now are pretty filled up, pretty much, every inch. So it's fun to see. It's good to see that at least that part is coming back.
I wanted to piggyback on Randy's thought really quick that, I saw some pictures the other day on social media of kids playing volleyball on grass. Get that out of here in the city section. I was ready to come on the show today and light up the city section. I'm so glad they finally saw fit to go back indoors. Everybody else is doing it. I don't know why the city was behind on it, but they got smart and they changed it quick. They got back indoors, so that's a good thing. Volleyball should not be played on grass unless you're playing at the park at your family picnic. High school volleyball needs to be played indoors on a court. That's the only way to do it. So I'm glad that the LA city section finally saw the error of their ways and got back on board here.
Well, it's really the LAUSD. They were very, very cautious. They wanted to make sure that all the protocols were in place. So I understand why they deliberated. They took a little bit longer and it took some time, but better late than never. And volleyball, like basketball, going indoors, and we're excited about it in the city section.
Randy, how much of a detriment would that be? Randy's the volleyball guy, let's face it. So how much of a detriment would that be working out on grass versus working out on a court? I mean, basically, look, with everything we have to deal with right now with the pandemic, everything we have to deal with right now, I mean, how much of a difference is it really?
I don't think it's a giant detriment. You got to think in terms of sand volleyball, which is even more difficult because trying to jump in the sand is not easy. That sand is not all that easy to jump in. It's a little bit more forgiving when you come down than the pavement. But if the grass is okay, I think the kids could have played well outside. But again, as Bob alluded to, it's an indoor sport, and that's where it belongs. Of course, the difference, if you're outside, you got the wind involved and the elements. But indoors, everyone's on an even term there. So I think it's great that it's back indoors for both the girls and the boys in volleyball.
Yeah, a workout's a workout, Bob. That's how I'm looking at it right now. Everybody's fighting for space right now. They just are.
No, I don't care. Nobody's asking anybody else to change their playing surface. Nobody else was asked to change things. You talk about going from a hard court to a grass surface. No, that's not acceptable. Not in any way, shape, or form. And I will say that every time we're on the show here. If that was the way it was going to be, I would have lit them up every single time because volleyball needs to be played indoor. These kids deserve the right to play their sport, and the protocols were in place. Randy talked about protocols. They were in place. So the southern section and others had already opened back up. There was no reason why LA Unified and the city section could not have opened up a little sooner, but hey, they got there. That's the important part. They got there. We're getting indoor sports. That's the most important.
Yeah, Commissioner Rosenblum. What do you got to say about that?
Is Bob upset with Damien, who played outdoor basketball? Now they've played back indoors and they're 12-0. Damien, before they were allowed to play indoors, was playing basketball on hard courts as well.
That's right, baby.
That's not that's basketball on the playground. That's not competitive, high school basketball. That's for playing on the weekends and staying in shape, not for competitive basketball. That's not outdoor. That doesn't
but we're
cut
going to
it.
have competitive beach volleyball outdoors, and we'll eventually play all through high school.
The beach is not indoors. The beach is outdoors.
Well, it's a different game. I'm not saying it's the same game, but it's not a major obstacle if the kids play outside. That's all.
That's right, baby.
If the kids choose to play outdoor volleyball, that's fine. That's on the sand. Indoor volleyball is an indoor sport. Leave it there.
Well, look,
No
Bob,
reason why it should have even been an issue.
they play tennis on courts, and they play it on grass, and they play it on clay. I mean, you play tennis anywhere. Dan, check it. Your daughter plays club volleyball. What do you got to say about this?
Well, I would have to say, yeah, you want to be careful on the surface. There's a lot of, holes and different things, unless you're playing on AstroTurf or what have you. But I think there's a higher chance for injury, and you don't get the spring and the things you need with the basketball court. So I agree with Bob on that one. I wouldn't be playing outside. Good chance for injury.
Well, it looks like we're at an impasse here, aren't we, fellas? Listen, I don't know.
Happens on these
Bob, I agree. We got to get back to some state of normalcy as much as we can. But let's face it, man. I mean, I've seen footballs go flying over, where a pole vaulter's making his jump, just missing his head and stuff like that. So everybody's out there doing stuff right now. Foul balls coming, crashing down. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy stuff. And every inch of every field is full. And I just like seeing it.
And like I said before, it's a moot point. They're going indoors. So we can sit here and go back and forth on it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
We're
Bob.
play indoors anyway.
Take that. Take that, baby.
Hey, I've given credit to the athletic directors every week since we've been back, and I'll give credit to them again. They have had a thankless job trying to get everybody practice time and game time, in all one season, and they've been able to pull it off for the most part. And I give them all the credit in the world for doing it. And it's been good. I think everybody has been happy with what the sports have been so far. So I haven't heard too many complaints.
Bob, I'm going to get you outdoor tickets to, the volleyball when it comes to season for outdoor volleyball permanently in the LA City section. You're going to get front row seats.
The AVP is a good product, but not for high school. Not for high school indoor volleyball, not court volleyball.
Listen, they might be onto something. Maybe grass volleyball's cool. I mean, you can hit the floor and not really worry about getting skinned up too much. Yeah, you can't slide. But it might be something different, Bob. Just like trampoline basketball.
Ankle on the ground.
Yeah, injuries.
You guys remember?
You can get hurt on any surface, indoor or out.
That's right.
Much less likely indoor. Much less likely.
There's a lot more give on the court, I think.
I've seen
Randy
kids
said,
run
back
into the
indoors
stands,
and
run
do the
into the
right
walls.
Better late than never.
What do you want from me? I just threw it out there. I didn't mean to roll a grenade into the room, if you know what I mean, but I'm glad I did. All right, guys. Hey, let's get on to football right now. We'll get on to basketball here in a minute, but let's talk about a little bit about football, of course. This, I believe, is the last week, right, guys? This is the last week of football in the Southern section, I believe. True or false?
Yes.
All right. I don't know, man. I'm asking. That's why I come on this show, to find out stuff. That's why I ask you guys do all the work. I just ask questions, man. It's easy. So cool.
We're here for it.
But anyways, okay, so we're all in agreement. Super Bowl this weekend. Modern day Bosco, once again. They're always playing for the title every year. Now, I believe, in doing my research, I told you guys, in the last 15 years, the Trinity League title's gone to Servite 5 times, Bosco 5 times, and Modern Day 5 times. This will undeniably, unequivocally break the tie, unless there's a tie, and it sticks. I doubt there'll be one. Those two teams will play to the death. They'll play 30 overtimes. So as long as there's a winner between Modern Day and Bosco, trust me. So this one breaks the ties. It's kind of like for all of Marvers. This is like saying we are the king of the Trinity League, which is undeniably the best football league in America. Top to bottom, they'll take on any other league across the country, and they will beat them and beat them badly. Guys, it's unfortunate. Modern Day and Bosco missed the national championship crowning this year. How important is it, do you think, to these two schools to beat one another, and what it represents during the COVID era?
Oh, it always is. I mean, it's a matchup of, the Braves and the Monarchs. It's a matchup of Rawlinson and Negro, the head coaches. It's a matchup of the two top, private school programs, probably in America. So, I mean, right, every year, this is the Super Bowl, as you
the big one, baby.
For these kids and for these programs, right? I mean, they both want to win in the worst way, and it's a bad taste in Modern Day's mouth because they got beat the last time these teams got together, and Bosco came from behind and won that championship game. That's
Bob,
just a distant memory now. These are two different teams.
Each time Modern Day and Bosco have won their national,
it's still Bosco Modern Day.
Each time Bado and Moscow Day, I believe, has won their title. I believe one beat the other. At least the last 2 times they beat the other during the regular season.
Yeah, they've been splitting games, and to get back to the game itself, I mean, it's all about a rivalry game. I mean, these are real rivals. They know that everything's at stake. So you want to beat your rival. They expect to win all their other games, and they know they're going to be in a heavy confrontation when they play each other. So I like St. John Bosco. I like their physicality up front. I love their running game. They have 3 terrific running backs. Modern Day's great. It could go either way, but I have a lean toward St. John Bosco. They have the confidence. They've been number 1 in their mind since winning the championship last year. Modern Day's more experienced, but I still like St. John Bosco.
All right. Hey, Randy, let's introduce your guest. Bring him into the mix. Let's argue with him, too. Let's beat him up.
I never argue with Jason Sabolic, the fine first-year head coach at El Camino Real in Woodland Hills. Coach, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, you open up West Valley League play. You host Chatsworth. You didn't have the numbers you liked in the preseason, but now you start all over again, and you go in against Chatsworth. Match up for us. How are you going to do against the Chancellors tomorrow night in a game that'll be live streamed on LA 36 and replayed on our channel Sunday at 4?
We're excited finally to get an opportunity to play against a league opponent, a like opponent, somebody that kind of opened up the same time we did and had the same opportunity for practice and whatnot. But they're coming off a great victory. They built a lot of confidence this last week, and they're hell-bent on trying to get retribution for things that happened in previous years and trying to ride that wave. And so what we're trying to do, coming off of a week where we were down for a false negative COVID test, which ended up being, it sucks for us, but once again, we want to err on the side of caution whenever it comes to that kind of stuff. So, we did our quarantine, we took our time away, and now we got back onto the field on Monday with a full week of practice and a head of steam. We had a couple of good practices in there this week, made me feel a little bit more confident about our opportunity on Friday. But all in all, I just wanted to go out and play a good game and, make it a fun event for the kids.
Yeah, Chatsworth's coming off a 47-3 victory over Taft, so they have 1 league game under their belt and they're 1-0. So, Coach, theoretically, you win the next 3 games, you're going to win the league championship in the Valley. How do you feel about that?
Well, at least we'd be in the conversation, and that's all we could ever imagine, but it's a 1-week season for us. As I told the kids, we're not looking past Chatsworth. We have to put our best foot forward with whatever we got moving forward. And like I said, we've had pieces kind of fall by the wayside with injuries and things that come up in normal daily life where these kids have to step away for a week and take care of some family business, stuff outside of school. So the schedule's been variable. Our time on campus is minimal, as you guys were talking about the sports-mageddon with all the different sports coming back. I could take you guys outside and show you the volleyball courts on our softball field grass right now. So
your quarterback situation is interesting. I know you've gone with Ryan Feinberg the whole season, but you have another young man, Troy Spellman, is also a good all-around player. And I know you're considering giving him some reps, some snaps tomorrow night.
Yeah, Troy's a great kid. He plays all over the field for us. He plays both ways. He's on every special team. It's tough when you put him at a quarterback position. You kind of take away another position player on the field that he would fit into, which is why the marriage kind of works so well with Ryan at quarterback and him at running back or wide receiver as well as at safety. But, he has been pushing. It's something that he wants to do moving forward, and, we're all about it. He's, a kid with good leadership skills and ability. And, I told the both of them, if this quarterback competition goes all the way until you guys graduate, that's a good thing. It'll just make you both stronger. So.
Yeah, both juniors. It's interesting too. It's a spring league. It's a time to learn for your kids to learn. And you have a very young football squad. So even though you're 0-3 outside the league, do you feel like you've shown those necessary steps and you are improving?
100%, and just this week alone with the 2 good practices we had, we're finally starting to get it offensively. When you have to install an offense in 6 weeks and 6 months worth of install, eventually the kids will catch up to it. And I think this past week we caught up a little bit to the point where I could kind of go home happy after practice instead of wanting to, not show my face again.
You have a cute face, so you're okay. So, Jason, I know you know the state of city section football. Give us an overview, if you will, on the talent level you think that's in the LA City section now that Narbonne is not the team that they have been in the past. I think Venice has a terrific club, but really the talent isn't all there. Your thoughts on the LA City section?
Coming from somebody that lives and breathes and bleeds city section football, was a product of city section football, it's sad to see all these kids going from school to school to school. My biggest thing and, a pitch for the city section is, instead of going to a school where you're backlogged with 300 kids that want to play the sport of football, why don't you go to a school where there's 55 kids that want to play the sport of football and go be the king of the castle, and go take the keys to the Ferrari and run with it. There's a ton of opportunity, but the number of schools that there are nowadays, even from when I played, just kind of made the talent pool spread so thin that if you lose one kid at this school to a private school, it hurts that school for a decade possibly. And so, I was always talking about how COVID could be the straw that breaks the camel's back with some of these schools. It's just hard to imagine schools like a Panorama or like you were talking about, some of the inner city schools like a Washington or a University High to actually come back and have numbers. And then you look at the other factors too, the other sports and the whole concussion issue and lacrosse becoming a bigger sport that, like I said, the numbers have dwindled drastically, and you see programs falling by the wayside. They're just not going to be able to be supported and have enough players to be safe for everybody. So I think you'll see, the better programs stick around, and, maybe some realignment is up in the air, but I think as far as the public versus private, that's really kind of the root of the issue that's really driving the exodus out. But maybe it could cause the rebirth as well. We never know, because I think that the city section, a lot of these different schools are sleeping giants. I always said that when I was in the college ranks, looking at a school like El Camino and where it's located and the student population and the academic prowess of the school and the positive things that go on at a lot of these places, that a lot of these schools are sleeping giants. I mean, I wouldn't know a million years why a kid that lives right down the street would want to go anywhere else. So hopefully we see the resurgence, as we're seeing with the Times article or Dorsey and things that they're trying to do at those schools inner city.
Well, hopefully we'll have the resurgence at El Camino. We thank you once again. We're going to have your game on. We'll live stream it tomorrow. It'll replay on LA 36 Sunday starting at 4, and we'll replay it a number of times. Jason Sabolic, El Camino Real High School, always a pleasure.
Thank you, guys. This is the highlight of my week outside of game day. So,
Hey,
got
Jason,
an early present on Thursday.
You ain't going nowhere. You're going to hang out the rest and finish this out, all right? Because we got some
Stay
small
with us,
talk to
Coach.
finish
You'll
out.
have some fun with us.
No,
you can
wait.
argue with the rest of us.
Here's one interesting thing you mentioned is the fact that I didn't think I'd ever see this, where the private schools would take over the city section. I know there's players that have left the LA City section and went to the southern section to join a private school situation. Matter of fact, it's happening now if you look around. But to think that they would just suck the life out of the other traditional powers. Randy, we were just talking about Crenshaw, Dorsey, the schools that used to have all the power. What happened? Where's it gone? And Coach here, Jason, just gave us a good idea of where it all went.
I think of modern day, and one of their star running backs is Marcise Yetz. Now, he's a city kid. He played at Narbonne, played on a championship team there, and now he's over at modern day. So, yeah, we've lost a lot of them from the city section.
Those guys recruit away. They've been recruiting since day one.
There's 3 hotbeds of talent that we always would want to go to as a college recruiter. One of them is out in the West San Fernando Valley, all the way to the Chatsworth Hills and into the 805 and Simi Valley. And then you have the Pacoima area, and then you have the inner city. And the talent from those 3 areas alone, if you look at the names on all the rosters, on all of the private schools, all throughout the city of Los Angeles, these kids don't live there. They live in the 818, the 805, and they're traveling to go to these other schools.
Yeah. DeForest used to live in the 909. He used to travel to the 818 all the time. Sometimes they travel to the 805, right, Dan?
Hey, you bet. I do have a question for you, Coach. You mind? I know with the shortened season and the short amount of players and stuff, how deep in your playbook have you been able to go this year? Has it been? I know you touched on it a little bit, but have you been adding plays each week, and have you been able to really run your full offense this year?
No, we're so handcuffed by the fact that a lot of these kids, they're not football players. They wear the jersey, they sign up to play the sport, but these kids don't watch the game of football. A lot of them don't know the rules. So you really have to start with, this is an offensive philosophy. This is what we're going to try to accomplish. You kind of front load it, and then you bring back the reins a little bit. And so with that being said, we front loaded a good amount of stuff, and then you just kind of weed through it. Okay, let's try to find what we're good at real quick. You know, we had a week-long quarterback competition to see who was going to be the guy, and you have to make a snap decision, whereas normally in an off season you have months to determine stuff like that. So we have scratched the surface, so to speak, of offensive install, but once again, you know, we are a quarter of what we could go into with a normal off season. So you really have to kind of pick and choose and just really get it good at one or two simple concepts and teach the kids as much as you can and watch them get better. And I think that's been the fun part, is kind of watching that aha moment where the light kind of goes on. They're like, oh, wow, that makes a lot of sense now.
Right. And then, so do you have a lot of kids going both ways right now?
Oh yeah, we have a lot of kids going both ways, and that really is a testament to how tough some of these kids really are, with not having that shield of protection of lifting weights in an off season, to the day in and day out nutrition that keeps them healthy and going. And you know, I told them in the beginning when we first started, look, it's my job to kick your butts for the next 6 weeks just to prepare your bodies for battle. Otherwise, you know, they're so brittle and fragile. But it's also cost us a little bit in practices, as we've had guys that are going both ways and they're getting banged up in practice. So it does affect us.
Coach, I know that you're a city guy, but man, living in Southern California, and you're a football guy, you can't help but look forward every year to not only the East LA Classic, but to modern day Bosco. You know, to the Trinity League championship game, the high school Super Bowl game. What are your thoughts this year on that, knowing the history, the rivalry, and what's going on down there?
You know, I think you brought that up with Servite and kind of throwing their name into the ring, and, you know, Troy being such a long tradition head coach, and, you know, Coach Negro making a name for himself at Bosco, and Coach Rawlinson in modern day. I mean, you're talking about some of the greatest to walk the field, and they all get to play each other and beat each other up throughout the course of the year, and it's fun to watch. You know, that was one of the best parts about being in the college game for so long, is I got to go to 60 high school football games a year and watch teams from all over the place. And it's so special to watch some of these high schools that are better than some colleges. And a lot of these kids that line up on these fields, like you saw, I think the graphic was the Bosco modern day game. There's something like, I don't know, 15 or 16 3-star plus athletes on that field at any one point in time. And so it's just it's the who's who. And I think you hit another nail on the head. I mean, that's got to be the strongest league in the country, because the talent level week in and week out, you're playing a Super Bowl every week. You know, that is your bowl game. That, you know, that's the game every week, the game of the week.
Every week's a Super Bowl in that league, and not only do you have all the talent, but there's also the means to help that talent along. And I think that's where the rubber really meets the road, and why that league is undeniably, everybody talks about it, is the best in the country. You can't go find another 5 or 6 team league like that in the country anywhere, and from top to bottom, you're in trouble when you play them.
Yep.
You know, that's what that one's all about. Dan, let's cruise over to some basketball. What's going on right now? I know you've been out in Orange County watching a lot of games lately. Kind of crazy out there. Some schools played early, played out of state, got a lot of games. Some schools, you know, 3-4 games in the book so far.
But you can kind of tell the difference. A lot of the private schools got to practice and get a lot of work in before, the public schools are just kind of getting started, about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So there's a big difference. They have a big head start on it, and but they're getting some battles out there. It's going to be great that we have playoffs too.
Yeah, they announced they're going to actually have some playoffs going on for basketball this year. Randy, got the same thing going in the city? They're going to have playoffs in the city?
Yeah, basketball will start, probably the end of the month. They will have sectional championships for the girls and the boys in different divisions. They'll be at home sites. There's not going to be an arena site for either the CIF Southern section or the city section. They're going to play at home sites. They don't want congregations of multiple teams and buildings. So that's going to be how the championships are going to be played. And it'll be exciting because you're going to have home courts and you're going to have some fans in attendance. The families will be there. And in the smaller gyms, at least there'll be some noise for the championship series.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, as the weeks progress now, because this is legitimately the end of the football season, basketball, we're going to be basketball heavy, maybe some wrestling, stuff like that, talk about some of the other sports, but that's coming up. But this is the last week pretty much of football. And Coach, good luck to you this weekend.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
All right, man. Keep on trucking. Thanks for joining us. On behalf of Bob Gibson, that's Dan DeForest. Oh, we still got 3 more? I thought, man, you gave me 3 minutes ago. All right, we're still going to be on here. All right. So anyways, Randy, so what's going on with the city section of basketball? We haven't touched on that.
Well, they haven't played. I mean, the only team that's close to ready to go is Birmingham because they are a charter school and they had a waiver. They've been practicing this week, and they're going to play St. John Bosco tomorrow night. I have David Elliott, who's a terrific shooter, and a couple other starters off a playoff team that was really solid. So I think Birmingham's going to be good. Still waiting for Fairfax and Westchester. They haven't lined up yet. But right now it's really headed by Birmingham because they're the only team that's been able to formulate a club, and they'll get into action tomorrow night. But it's not going to be easy for them. St. John Bosco's one of the best teams in the southern section. They've played a number of games already. So the Patriots will be an underdog on the road tomorrow night, even though they have a very good team.
Well, I know Rolling Hills Prep's been itching to get it on with Fairfax again and Westchester. You know what's going on over there. So it'd be interesting to see what's going to happen in basketball this year. It's been such a mess, but now we see light at the end of the tunnel. Bob, anything in closing?
Yeah, I just want to mention real quick. There's 3 really good football games for league titles going on in Orange County this week. Sunny Hills, La Habra. 4-0 Sunny Hills, 5-0 La Habra. La Habra's won 21 straight league games. Sunny Hills might have a chance to break that streak this week. Real quick, Villa Park and Yorba Linda for the Crestview League title. I think that's going to be a fun one. And then, of course, one of the other big ones to look forward to every year, Mission Viejo and San Clemente, South Orange County. Mission Viejo, 47 points per game. San Clemente averaging 37 points per game. So this one might come down to who has the ball last.
Interesting. All right, guys, now we are legitimately going off the air. They got it figured out over here. Got time management. Time management people came in and said, "You're done. You're out of time." On behalf of Randy Roseman, Bob Gibson, DeForest, and, of course, Coach Jason from El Camino Real, I'm Richard Estrella saying so long from your friends here at the SoCal Prep Report. See you next week.